Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. So, yes, Sandy, we are coming live from Rumble again. Um, I did make the community post and Ernie shared it as well as on Charlie's channel, but you will need a Rumble account if you want to participate in the chat. But we have Ernie here tonight, and we're going to be talking about these pedophile organizations. And this is just an intro because this stuff there's a lot into this. This goes deep, but we're going to be. The other one was Nugan, and MAPS. That's an acronym that they're trying to say is minor attracted person or people.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing we was looking at some of the files last night. I noticed that they moved a lot of the pedophilia signs. I couldn't recover those. Was you able to recover those, the GLs? I know we found the BLs, the LBLs, but the GLs, I didn't see the GLs anymore.
I didn't see it. No.
I couldn't. I mean, and used to, you could just like boom, boom, boom. You could find it anywhere. It was actually public knowledge. Now it's kind of like deep down in hid. I did find a Los Angeles County Sheriff's badge has the BL sign in it. So,
yeah, and there's when you're talking about these organizations, their members, that a lot of these members are politicians and higher up people.
That's the only way they can get it done. Get the laws passed through the politicians. That's the only way they can actually even, exist. That's really why they only exist. It's because of politicians. Because people that really want to shut it down can shut it down. I mean, but politicians keep it up because of the law and the lawmakings.
Yeah, they advocate for Nugan. Sandy advocates for NAMBLA. They're the ones that try to push their agenda.
Mm-hmm. You're correct.
Yeah.
But what they try to do is they see a law that's passed, and then they try to go into that law and say, well, hey, wait a minute, this law's passed. Why can't we get our law passed? Because it's on the same verge of it. And then they try to tail back off that other law that's passed. And when they do that, they usually get it passed. Like some states pass that law.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they do it. That's how they tail back on it and everything. That's why I guess it's the LGBTQ. They don't want them in the, they're always trying to, I was reading up on it. I was actually doing a little bit of studying on it. They're always trying to push their way in, but they're pretty much saying no, and they're not letting them come in. So that's a good thing. That's really a good thing.
Yeah, and they've been trying to, upon my research, I think that NAMBLA back in the 80s, they were trying to affiliate themselves with pride celebrations. And even back in the 80s, you have members of the LGBT community saying, we don't want you here. You're not affiliated with us, But it creates a negative stigma for the LGBT community, because when people, they think of, that community, they think of pedophiles being associated or affiliated with it,
Well, you look at NAMBLA's logo. Have you seen the cartoon logo-ish thing, the anime logo they have?
It's different than the triangle one, right?
Yes, you see the tug of war with the kids naked, the little kids naked pretty much in an anime, right?
Let me try to pull this up.
As soon as you pull it up, you're going to see their logo. And that's how they get away with their logo. Anytime your logo has to be anime or cartoon just to pull a loophole on the law to keep from being pedophilia, you'll see what I'm talking about. Check that out.
Now, this is Nugan, right?
NAMBLA.
Okay, NAMBLA. So these are the ones, this is what we were talking about. Also butterflies as well.
Right.
See, I can't pull it up on screen share because my computer is shut off, but
there's the GL. That's the GL sign, LGL right there. There's the BL and then the LBL sign on the corner there, the circle spring.
Now, Ernie, you said that when they're pink, that means little girls?
That's girls, little girls.
Okay.
Notice how the boys are like a blue and neon green. You see that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what we call that when I was doing the task force stuff with the triangle, That's called the triangle within a triangle with the in and out because it comes going and goes out. That's the BL sign. That's the boy lover sign. And the one over from it, the offset triangle, that's the same shape. It looks like a little spring. It's called the LBL, which is the little boy lover.
See,
I
you
mean,
said
that's sick. That's sick.
this is the worst one right here.
Yes, that's pretty much. But most of them are into the regular triangle one, the BL.
Mm.
You hardly ever see that spring one. And then mostly on the spring one is the older men between the ages of 55 to 75.
It's disgusting.
It's very disgusting.
It's repulsive. So let me ask you, before I told you about this, did you encounter any members of NAMBLA or these the sting operations, excuse me, that you've went on? Did you ever find out that any of those people were affiliated with these organizations?
No, because it's kept so. It's okay. So here's the thing: when we done it in Tennessee, of course, the TSA code, or the TCA code wouldn't let us do certain things, so we couldn't pretty much join up with law enforcement to be able to do further investigation. Obviously, so our investigation happened right there on the screen as we had our decoys. That was pretty much the investigation. You know, at the time, I mean, NAMBLA would never really even came up because all we was doing, yeah, there's the jewelry, that's the jewelry. But all we was really doing at that time was catching the predator. We would hook 2 or 3 hooks in them. And at the end, here's the thing about it. At the end, we would hook the 4th hook in them when they said, because we'd give them a chance to get off one of those hooks. And what we would do is we would be like, are you sure you're wanting, because you have to do this. You have to do this. Are you sure you're wanting to, go through this? Are you sure it's okay that I'm 13 or I'm 12, whatever the decoy's age was at the time? And they would be like, look, usually the simple answer was age is just a thing. We don't care about age. Age is however old you feel. That's usually their answer, to be honest with you. And
Wow.
we would be like, okay. And then here's the thing. You are not allowed to say, where do you want to meet at? Because that's enticement. That's enticement automatically. They have to be the one that pretty much approaches you always. You cannot be the first one who messages them first. They have to be the one. So what we would do with their decoys, we would take someone, we would use apps, we would take their face and make them younger, make them look a little younger, that where they would fit whatever the criteria was. But the person we was using, that was always over 21 anyways. Always, one of our team members or somebody else that volunteered to help. And, but it was all through law enforcement and Department of Homeland Security at that time when we was doing it. And they would tell, we would already have enough information. The hooks was already set. It's just like when you watch Chris Hansen to Catch a Predator. The hooks was already set in these guys. They had these guys online, everything. So all we had to do is do our part. It was already filed. Everything was already filed in law enforcement. Now, the trick was, what got us in trouble is the DA of that place, the DA of a certain area. Gatlinburg worked with us. Pigeon Forge worked with us. Gatlinburg worked with us. But when it come down to Newport, Tennessee, the DA would not have anything to do with it. They would not prosecute these guys. It was just catch and release pretty much. And that's what got us, yeah.
So, Ernie, you said that before in the past, you said that just common law enforcement, they're not familiar and educated on what the stuff that you talk about as far as child trafficking and Dugan and all this other shit.
I told you about some of the classes we had with certain groups. Remember I was telling you about it, how attention to detail, what you had to do, what you had to be. They only wanted the people that was like really, really attention to detail to this stuff. Law enforcement's 11 to 15% knows anything about child predators, any kind of child crime with predators, because they're not trained on it. They don't train them on that. There's certain techniques now and certain classes they have to go to. But I mean, what's an hour or 2 class when you've got somebody that's experienced it, been there, seen it, rescued, done these things, and they're bringing this general awareness out now that you've never ever heard before, and their eyes are open. It's just like what you was telling me. Your eyes was open when I was telling you some of the things. I was telling you coordinates right off my mind that I remember being at. I can show you, where the hubs used to be, different things like that. Because at that time, that was my job. That was my career. That was what I did. And it all started with being a detailed security outside Trump Towers in 2017. That's where it all started.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last night. And there needs to be a system that's put in place that educates and trains law enforcement specifically for this, I would say, because a lot of this stuff gets swept under the rug with just superficial investigation.
It is true. It is true. It is true. This person here, I was one of the 8 captains that was when the combating human trafficking was put into law, pretty much executive orders. I was one of the 8 captains that led teams around the United States. So you're wrong on that. You're wrong on that, and I'll challenge you on that. Because I'll ask you one thing: what kind of certifications you got to have, and I bet you can't tell me the certification you got to have. Because Watchdog is a big, huge list right now. Watchdog is what the FBI actually uses, and the U.S. Marshals, and they use Not One, and Bark. Bark is another security system that they use. But I'll tell you right now, I'll challenge you any day. Let me tell you, anytime, any day you want to on that, on your deal. Yeah, anybody can be a decoy, but I'm talking about actually having a professional career at it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I understand. That's just one of the people. I know who that is. I know who that is. But
Yeah,
I don't want to get off on the subject, off of that, because this is serious. This is really serious what we're doing. It's serious. The cases I'm working now. I'm actually working cases that involve into that. So I really don't want to say too much because I'm kind of.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're trying to expose awareness. Like I'm actually into affiliation with groups that I've already went to law enforcement and they said, look, the crime hasn't been committed yet. And I'm sitting here like, but they're talking about this crime. So how do we get it to where you can do something about it? And they're like, well, the crime has to be committed. So I'm not the kind of person that's going to let a little kid be sodomized or be molested before something's done. That's not me. I'm sorry. Especially when I see what's going on, I'm not going to be that person. That's not the oath I took. That's not the oath I took. And I'm not going to stand around and let it happen. That's just the way it is. And that's me from who I am, my family bloodline, and me being who everybody, says I am, the predator hunter. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That ain't me. Go ahead, brother.
And see, another thing about NAMBLA, if we want to go back to 1997, I think that's when it was, with the case Jeffrey Curley in Massachusetts. A lot of people, upon doing research on that case, they wonder why Massachusetts represented NAMBLA.
NAMBLA. Yep.
In a civil suit with Jeffrey Curley's parents. That is because they were protected under the First Amendment and also the 14th Amendment, I believe.
It is I think it is the 14th Amendment that was protected under. You see, if you just look at the publicity, the actual part that was put out, that's what I was telling you about. What was shown to the public, it's just like, that happens every day. But if you go down into that case, what actually they did to that kid, man, I mean, they don't put it out in the news like that. They don't say, hey, they took this and did this and that to this kid. They summarize it up and say, hey, this kid, they murdered this kid. They killed this kid. They don't talk about the gas, what they put in the kid, what they did to the kid. They don't talk about that. And that's what's sad about it, because people is easy to turn their head to it. They're easy to be able to shy off of it instead of really grabbing their attention. Because if you was to start talking about that, what actually happens to these children, that it's not no choices, that have no choices, it draws them in. It would draw people in. That's what it would do. But now, because they don't talk about it, it throws them off. So that's sad. That's why we even come up with laws like with the Special Forces of Liberty, with the SOCA Act, Save Our Children Act, and you see what it's already done. It's been adopted in 25, 30, 35 different states, something like that.
And the SOCA Act, what you hear Ernie talk about a lot, I haven't talked about the SOCA Act, but I've talked about the trivial things that came because of the SOCA Act. And one of those things is you have to verify your age by government ID if you go to adult porn websites.
Exactly. The first time you visit that, and once you hit that button, it takes your It takes your IP is what it does. There was actually a senator that got in trouble because his kid got on his laptop. This is what he said. He was gone and the kid got on the computer or something like that and was just typing in stuff. So magically child porn or something showed up. So as soon as that does that, if you go offline, if you go out and see to get to the black web, let's just say the dark web. I like to say it the black web because it's a very barren place.
Yeah.
You have to have encryptions. There's certain encryptions that you have to go by just to even get into that. And then from there, there's certain gateways, you say portals, door openings that lead to different things. So do you remember there was a website called raw.com. You remember that? They were selling people. It was taken down.
Well, was it one of those gore websites that you could?
It was not gore, but they also had prostitution. They had things that there was a lot of child trafficking. There was a lot of child trafficking on it. A lot of child trafficking.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was open. It was opened up to the public. It wasn't even called the dark. It wasn't a dark web or anything. It was actually open. You could go on Google and go to it at that time, and you would see these lists. It was like Craigslist. One of the reasons Craigslist, the personals, was shut down. Trump shut it down right off the bat. Is because of child trafficking and human trafficking. That's one reason it was all shut down for it, because that was one of the biggest. I mean, Craigslist was huge. You could go in anywhere and you could find categories. You remember how it had the categories?
Yeah.
And you could just go and you could find anything. I mean, like, they would use secret codes. They would use things. I used to teach these emojis things they would use. I would also teach these abbreviations, LBAC, stuff like that. And that stands for a certain thing. RTY is one of them. And if I was to start, and I want to, when I start my new channel, I'm going to do more classes on what these mean and what it actually means. That way people can see it. That way, when they're using these abbreviations, and at any given time, there's 550,000 child predators online any given time during the day, and they're targeting your child, whether on video games, whether what it is, but they're targeting your child, and they're using these abbreviations. They're teaching your child these certain little codes, and without your child even knowing they're teaching them, they're teaching these kids these abbreviations. And some of them means, is your mom, dad around? They know then they've got the okay to do whatever. They can go ahead and start setting the grooming process up. And when they start setting the grooming process up, that's when everything can happen more efficiently and they can get in. And once they get in, of course, they can say, oh, well, you don't live in so. I actually did a test. I was in a seminar one time, and this kid, the mother brought her kid, and he would sit down, he would put his hands down, but his hands was like this right here. It was automatically like this right here. I knew he was a gamer because he always had a controller in his hand. You see what I'm saying? Their hands automatically, you can look at gamers and you can tell who gamers are because their hands are always like this, and you can watch them, they kind of jitter their hands a little bit, just a little bit, because they're used to having a controller all the time in their hands. Or if they're keyboard, there's certain things you can look out for. And I said, I happened to I made note of something. I said, you don't live in a White House. I said, is that your music?
Yeah, that's my music. Yeah, I can turn it down a little bit because
no, you're good. You're good. I just didn't know if you'd come to. It's the first time I did this.
No, you're good.
I may be breaking up too. I've got bad service here, but I was like, you don't live in the White House with a brown fence or something like that. I just threw it out there. He said, no, I don't live in no damn. And the kid was talking to me, but I was showing an example. And he's like, no, I live in a blue house with a so-and-so a rail fence or something like that. And that's what child predators do. They automatically say, oh, you don't live in this and that. And they argue with the kid and they give out information. They don't know what they're doing. They're actually being played. They're being tricked. They're being groomed to give this manipulation. They're giving their address away without them even knowing it.
And see, part of that also has to do with isolation. They want to isolate their victim or their target.
Exactly. Here's another one people don't think about. When they target women and their children, if a lot of it, they go to these events at school. These events at school they have. the woman, say their child is on the gym floor. They're usually way far up in the bleachers or whatever in the seats. They can't hardly get a good eye vision of their child. So they take their phone out and they zoom in on their child correctly to video them, right? Whatever they're singing, whatever the performance they're doing. Am I correct?
Yeah, you see that a lot with TikTok and people just, innocently uploading videos of their child, but they don't know that there's pedophiles out there that's viewing the video, getting off, stroking themselves, doing whatever.
Right. But this is beforehand. This is what they do. This is the kidnappers. This is what we call the dogs. This is the people that want to get you, hit you for your organs, 25, 30,000, kill you, whatever done, be done with it. This is what they do. They get behind the person. Okay, when a family comes in, they usually sit real close to each other, right? I mean, they'll have maybe a little bit of space in them, but they're sitting right next to each other.
Right.
So if two separate families come in, they sit kind of apart from each other, right? They give space. So they know who to target about these females and these kids, these single females with these kids, because they're sitting by themselves. Nobody else is sitting with them. So what the pedophile or what the child predator would do, or a predator in general, they'll get behind the woman who's got their camera looking at their kid. Well, guess what? Everybody's got a cell phone these days. They'll take their cell phone out and they'll zoom in on what they're looking. Guess what they just did? They targeted you and your child. Simple as that. Then what they do, they screenshot that. They send it to the guy out there waiting in the vehicle that's going to get you. After the event's over, what does mostly people want to do? They want to go eat or want to go home, right? They want to leave the building as fast as possible, correct?
Yeah, they would usually want to go out to eat, like Sunday supper, like
bingo, or any event or anything. They're with a family, hey, we're going to go out, we'll have a little bit of time, before we cut in. Okay, good deal. So what this guy does up at the top, he makes sure he watches this girl and this girl and her mommy out to the vehicles and everything, and they follow them. And then what he does, he cuts them off. He comes in between them. Well, the guy in the van or the vehicle that's going to put it in there is already waiting on it. So they direct them that way. They may have a weapon up under them. Hey, you need to shut your mouth. Let's go. Don't say nothing. Nobody's going to say something, especially if they think they're going to die. And that's why I said, before you get put in a vehicle, we were doing general awareness on this before when I was doing the executive protection also. Before you get put in a vehicle, to be honest with you, don't never get in a vehicle. Fight before you get in the vehicle. Because I'm going to be honest with you, once you get in the vehicle, they have control over you. At that moment when it first happens, just to be honest, you have control. That's the control that you're going to have. That's it. If any control at all that you're going to ever have from that position is that point there. Once you get in that vehicle, you're done. You're done.
Well, Ernie has a good point, y'all, because it's the same thing as somebody, coming to your house. The moment that door closes, all things are off. They can do whatever they want to with you because they're out of plain sight. Chances are no one's going to just attack you in the middle of, let's say a setting of a basketball game at an elementary school or something like that.
And, you're right. Like I've been in New York City. I've seen, as a Southern guy and a country boy, we're always grown up. We're raised men don't hit women. Men does not hit women. We don't hit women. I mean, that's just that's the way I've always been raised. And we've always protected people. Like I've seen people in New York City, I guess you say pimps or whatever, just haul off and jack these females. And you're sitting there and then your morals, you're there, your grown roots are kicking in and you're like, oh, hell no. But
does something to you.
It does something to you. And I got involved. I'll tell you an example. You know how they set their tip buckets out with them food trucks and stuff? They'll have like the little red tip buckets and stuff where you could tip them.
Yeah.
I watched a guy rip a guy off one time. He was running down. Well, I had my camera. I actually caught it on video. And he was running down and I had a video. It's like the second time I'd ever been in New York City. So the guy comes out of the food truck and he starts running this guy, help, help, help. People come out of the hotels and just looking. It's New York City. It happens. The guy runs down and I see the guy give up. He quits running. He's like, turns around. Well, I'm watching this guy about a couple blocks up the road there and I'm watching him and I've got my camera on him still and video and I'm zooming in and I've got a visual of what he looks like. So I just started walking toward him, walking to where he's at. I swear, up behind one of those bins, he was up there it was taped up. It was red tape. It was on that damn bucket full of tips. And he was sitting there untaping it, trying to pry the bucket lid off. I swear to God, all I did was walked up to him and said, that ain't nice. You're not supposed to do stuff like that. It scared the like he had never been approached like that. It was funny as hell. But I used a predator hunter voice pretty much like, what the hell you think you're doing, dude? What? You know better than that shit. They were sitting there. Like when we catch these predators, their legs start trembling like this right here, and they're sitting there, and you got them in control. You tell them, sit down, and the ghost comes out of them, seriously. And this guy was sitting there. All I did was grab the bucket, told him to leave. That was it. It was simple. I walked up to back up to the truck. The police officer was there filling out a report. I said, here's your bucket. I said, I just went and got this guy down. They heard my lingo. They heard my country accent. The police officer patted me on the shoulder, turned me around. He said, look, he said, this is New York City. He said, do you know that you can get in trouble for helping people? And he said, I understand you're from the South. I can hear the way you're talking. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you serious?
Now let's
I got a free Philly cheesesteak out of that. Oh, that was a good deal.
I see what you're getting at, because it seems like when people they get caught, right? The whole point is, you get caught, they're embarrassed, and plus they don't want to draw any more attention to themselves.
Correct. Well, I mean, it's like the predators. The one thing all predators do every time they approach, our approach was everything. Tone of voice. There's 4 tones of voices.
Bring out that
what I would do is like to disguise my voice. If the predator was walking, I would always make sure I'm behind them. On the introductory, I would act like a kid. I would say, like I did Tim. I said, Tim, like that. And he turned around, he's like smiling and everything because he's thinking he's going to see a 14-year-old kid, a 14 or 15-year-old kid, pretty much. And then we seen us. The first question is, who, what, when, where, how. What are you doing here today? I'm waiting on, You automatically know. They give themselves away just by the first fucking question. And then, of course, people start cutting in and stuff, and it's the way you train them. It's the way you train your decoys coming in and out and everything. You got the phone, you've got all the dialogue, you've got the scripts, you've got everything with you right here. It's all in the phone. Everything this guy said, it's already been turned into the police. Everything is legit, and then you're sitting here just going back through it like, whoa. So it's wild. We had to let them go because of TCA code. There was nothing we could do. Law enforcement wanted to work with us, but the DA wouldn't prosecute. There was nothing we could do. Nothing.
Yeah. I was about to ask you if you could touch basis on that again, because some people may not have heard you. See, I'm just now reading the comments. See, I'm not going to be, this live stream, I'm not going to be addressing any of that stuff that is being talked about on YouTube. We're trying to stay on topic. Mummy T said, Ernie, since you travel all over the country already, why not pick up state and county that will actually arrest these creeps?
Well, that's what we're doing now, my new channel. I'm working on that. I've got a new team. I'm working on people. I'm actually, the way I look at it is the way we did with the SOCA Act. I travel from state to state, going to different state houses. I mean, literally, we did probably 29, 30 states and, 35 days. I mean, we was constantly rolling. Couple state houses a day. We trying to knock out 2 state houses a day. We would travel from this state to this state. We get this state house, and you're looking at 6 to 8 hours in between. You had to time it in because when these meetings come in, when you can present these bills, and anytime you're doing any kind of work like that, any federal litigation, because that's what it is, federal laws that you're trying to get passed. We submitted it to Florida. I remember when they submitted it to Florida. Well, Ron, the governor, he pretty much, he grabbed the bill. He loved it. He looked at it. He gave it to his people. They changed the bill up just a little bit, and they went and passed it directly. Well, once they passed it directly, the opposing side in 5 days took it out because it wasn't Constitution. Everything we do is by the Constitution. Everything was drafted up. Look, people make fun of him, but I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Sevier stood up against Apple. and Sampson, and he was beating their high $1 million lawyers. He by himself was beating their lawyers, and they couldn't do it. I mean, they had a whole string of lawyers sitting in the front, and it was just him by himself. And he was by the Constitution. Boom! Everybody. It was about the SOCA Act, and
Yeah.
then it comes up for the big win. He beats these guys. He could have sued these guys and made millions of dollars off of what they was doing was wrong, because it was before they was putting the 18 thing on when you get it. But now where we won, when you buy any Apple device, Samsung device, any laptop, any computer, desktop, whatever you buy, as soon as you hit a porn site, it comes up 18 years of age. You have to verify your age and your birthday. Am I correct? And whether you're male or female.
Well, yes. This actually happened in Kentucky. This was they recently passed that, and also I believe in Indiana too, and Louisiana, Massachusetts, Virginia, Texas.
But it took them 2 years. It took them a year and a half to get it on the floor. You may submit a bill, but you can only submit so many bills that time, because they're going through each one of them, and they're in order. They're in order which way they're submitted. That's why when one goes on the House floor and it passes, well, all it has to have then is either the governor's signature or, either the president, or, it can go so far as that, and it's signed into law. That's how it's made into law. It ain't made into law when you submit it, because it still goes through all this litigation and everything else, and it has to get to the House. Once it gets to the House on the floor, then you're good set.
Yeah, these things take time. They take years to implement. And what Ernie said, if you try to, like, for example, right now, we can talk about this stuff, and that's part of the reason why I'm hosting it on Rumble. If you go to
my name is on the Special Forces of Liberty. I'm one of the regional directors. It's still on there. Even you go to the site this day, you still see my name there.
Yeah,
you've seen it. I'm one of the Special Forces of Liberty regional directors for Kentucky. I was on the regional directors, and that SOCA Act comes from the Special Forces of Liberty. And that's why I said so much about the Special Forces of Liberty, because we did so much with our federal litigation. I would dress up, go in, and I had the crocodile tooth hat and everything. Everybody knew me from the damn videos, the TikTok videos, the viral videos. When I would go in there and sit down, especially the females, oh my God, we just start, conversation. I would tell them a little bit about this, what this does, what this law does. But we presented 7 of them. We had 3 of them that passed, but the SOCA Act was my major one for me being there. So when we presented the SOCA Act, of course, Tiffany Marler, she had her things. If you look on the panel in Maine, I was on one of the government panels in Maine with Tiffany Marler. She come in, I was right after her, and I had to tell my experiences and what I've done, and how prostitution, because, prostitution and stuff used to be on the corners. Before the phones and stuff, you had to go to the corners. It was a pretty much face-to-face act. Now, it's on any cell phone device. Cashapp, the transactions are made right then and there. It's the same way for child trafficking. When these kids get in these hotels, what they'll do is they get these hotels, and you know what I'm talking about when we talk about hotels.
Yeah.
The way they're built and what they're built upon. That was an eye-opener, wasn't it?
Yeah, what we talked about last night in Colorado.
Oh, God, yeah. It's because I was there. I was there when they was doing that damn hotel. I was sitting there like, it's on a tunnel. Like, they build these things on the damn tunnel. Like, literally right up under it is the damn tunnel. And it don't even, if you do the coordinates of it, I told you what the coordinates was.
Exactly what the coordinate was, but
exact coordinates where it's at. You go through a door, one through sideways, go through left, and go out it. As soon as you turn left, well, you see the entrance to the tunnels. You see the entrance right where the tunnels are at. Signs of life is the first thing we look for when you're going through there. It's like when I was telling you Atlanta, when I was in the Atlanta tunnels, and I found that little girl's hair clasp. When I found that little girl's hair clasp, it was 1.75 miles down in the tunnels. What's a little girl doing down 1.75 miles to tunnels that's been closed off to the public for ever since 1993, when Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton when President Clinton was the one that closed them off to the public. And then they widened the tunnels out. Instead of 22 foot, they widened them out to 26 foot so semis could fit through. And you could see the tracks, fresh tracks, and there was that little girl's hair clasp. Now you tell me what a little girl's hair clasp be doing 1.75 miles down into a tunnel. Think about that. I
I
still
mean, you
got
already
that.
know what it is. They're trafficking people.
Bingo, bingo, bingo.
They're trafficking people. They're trafficking children. Um, there's
Why do
some.
you think? Why do you think in 2020 they put up those? And one of my friends was talking about this. We was talking about this because I was active during that time. In 2020, why do you think all over Central Park they put tents up for it? And they had those ships come in. You remember that? The ships that came in New York?
I read
The
about it.
naval ships is supposed to be for medical reasons for COVID. No, nobody ever treated nobody for that on them ships. I think
Oh,
what that was. They hid Central Park over with tents. And I think in 2024, people are going to find out what really happened. And I think you understand what I'm saying.
These hotel rooms, what we're talking about, they're the perfect spots. And Ernie, I told you about the Holiday Inn in Bowling Green with
Mm-hmm.
my story, and I didn't even realize it at the time. But so let me ask you this: can you share with the people the significance of waterfalls and what you told me last night when
Okay,
that
so waterfalls. The waterfalls are a pedophile's dream. A lot of people don't understand that. Waterfall. Um, if you look with the summer, let's take the Summer Wells incident. Notice when the red barrel said for sale, she was dancing around that red barrel, and it was raining. Waterfall. Well, what happens is when the reason pedophiles like to stay around these parks, these water parks is used for pedophiles, and I'll tell you why. Because constantly, what do you hear running? Water, right? You hear shh.
it calms
No
you
matter
down.
where you go in water parks, you hear water running, and they have benches. They have benches that set down in certain areas, correct?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
And you see people just watching. Some people sit there all day long just so they can eyeball, just so they can get the sight of a child that they have targeted. But the thing about it is, if the kid gets away from the parent, always remember with water, our body is relaxed. Any kind of interrogation or anything, if you do an interrogation near a river, as long as it's running water, your body comes so relaxed. You'll come into like a little trance to where you're telling more than what you even want to tell. And that's why people shut up. Well, the interviewer is supposed to shut up unless you just keep on telling. And then right, they milk you for the last little bit. Like say if the getaway car was green, and you say, it was a blue car, you said? Oh, no, it wasn't a blue car. It was a green car. They'll automatically give you extra what their mind don't even think of because they're automatically relaxed. Their body's relaxed. If you watch a female and she's getting interrogated, the first thing she does when she gets nervous is she crosses up. She'll cross her body up. She crosses up. A lot of with the dossier effect, it's a lot of that with that. It's interrogation, but that's training on interrogation.
What
But
is it? The dosha effect?
it's a dossier effect. I'll show you more about it. I'll actually show you the links to go to it and train on that for you if you want me to. Like I was doing last night when I was showing you different links on what we did, and I'll show you more about it. But if you want to take a note of that, I've actually got my notepads over there. But if you want to take a note of that or put it in your laptop or computer, and I'll show you that, and I'll show you the training methods on that. I'll show you all that. So what happens is they take these kids when they're around. The thing about it is, let's go. Let's quit that for a second. Let's go into something that we're talking about now with NAMBLA. So what NAMBLA does, they'll have a member in the family or somebody maybe in your family that you don't know because you don't know what people do behind closed doors. And what they'll do is might be an uncle, it might be somebody. You ever notice how they want to watch the kids or something like that and maybe take them over for 3 or 4 days? What happens, and this is what this really happens when it comes down to it. If you look at the news articles, they'll be like, well, I didn't know he was like that. I didn't know he was like that. But, he's got access to your child, obviously. They'll take them to what they call these parties. Sometimes they'll drug these kids up. Sometimes they'll get them messed up, and what happens? They'll have 4 or 5 men. Sometimes they introduce them to zoophilia, and that is bestiality. That's real big in that world, real huge in that world, because that's a gateway opening up to it. Go ahead and speak on it a little bit.
Well, no, I just I was going to say that it does lead into bestiality, but it also with they're trying to isolate the victims. I forget exactly what I was about to say, Ernie. It just kind of left my mind, but Yeah, it was. They're trying to get your defenses down, and NAMBLA, see, they're not going to. They do it discreetly. It's so discreet, so sly. You have to have general knowledge on this stuff to see what is happening. Sometimes right there in front of your eyes.
Let me grab something right fast.
No, you're good. Um, Sandy said for sale.
I haven't talked on this, my part about it, but like, I'll show you something. The career I'm in now, with what I'm doing now, I'm going to kind of bring it in because I'm with my old team from 2017 now. So I've got more resources to do things. I've actually got ways I can do stuff. So let me give you an example. So these pedophilia signs. So if I was to say YTR.
Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. So sometimes if you go to, and again, these are organizations, so they have websites, guys.
Right here, YRT. Okay, so YRTY. That's a code in its own, and that's what a decoy would say something like that because you are too young. YRTY. They would use abbreviations. Now, pedophiles would use something like they would add a number. The reason they would add a number is they would guess an age. They would want your age. The thing about the pedophiles is it's, how do I say this without being too graphic? I really don't want to get into graphicness, but they want kids and they want young kids that does not have pubic hair. I'll just be honest with you. Just being straight out with you.
Prepubescent, that's the terminology, technical terminology.
I know. I was gonna say it. I was like, well, I was dumbing it down for people that new people coming in because this is like an introductory. I want to do more with this, but I'm actually working real cases that actually have, and I got to be careful with what I do because, of course, when you're going in and you got one or two members, you got two agents, you got whatever you got. When you're going in these places and you're infiltrating these places, it's just like with Grand Central in New York. Certain times during the month, they bring these kids out. Well, there's no weapons allowed in New York City, so they have to use certain ways. Let me be excused a second. We're our company.
No, you're good. So what Ernie's trying to say is that these people that primarily they target prepubescent children, and one thing that I can speak on from my personal experience, just being on these apps, because I look younger than my age, when they message you and if they say youngster or use the abbreviation as YSTR, that means they're into underage or someone that resembles underage, like technically not underage, but someone that closely resembles children. The reason why they target prepubescent children, people without hair, and I think that Tina similarly spoke about this too. They don't like any type of hair. Hair for the pedophile is a turnoff.
It's a turnoff, and it makes them sick.
Yeah.
We had this guy that he was the second or third offenses. I'm actually going to put the old videos I had, some of the captures I had. The U.S. Marshal was looking at this guy for 5 years. He was looking for 5 years. And this guy happened to come across the radar where I was at the time. I actually done a video on Facebook about it and had, it was a really, really big response with it. So I did like a 10-part series of this. I was able to go to Walmart because if you know anything about Walmart, pedophiles love Walmart. They love Walmart. They love to stay around the kid aisle. I'll be honest with you, the toy aisle, you can go there and at all hours of the day at Walmart, literally, and you can see people just sitting around. You've probably seen it, but you don't know what to look for. You probably just pass by it and you don't even know it.
Yeah, a lot of people, they just, I've heard people just go to Walmart just to observe. If you want to get a good feeling of a town and what it's like, then just go to Walmart, just sit back and observe. But pedophiles do the same thing, like what Ernie said around toy aisles at Walmart. I didn't even think about that. That makes sense. And as many kids that go missing from Walmart, the bulletin board that is in each inside of each one of the Walmarts, there's a reason why kids go missing from Walmart a lot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Who was that?
I'll tell you something else.
Go ahead.
These places on the highway, these rest areas, that's drop off points. That's drop off and delivery points. That's pass points. We call them our lingo. When I was working in 2017, it was pass points. It was called pass points, pass off points. You could tell it that. But what they would do is it's in and out because people are stopping and resting. Nobody's looking at nobody. It's the perfect place. Law enforcement's not going to be there. You got a 1% chance of law enforcement going to be there. But you can go this way, have somebody park on this side, and what they do is pass offs. And the way they pull their vehicles in to let them know cars, because what they won't do is put it on their phones. Because if they put it on their phones, if ICAC ever gets their phones, of course, they can trace on these phones. They can get all the information off these phones and say, hey, boom, 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 ping, 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 you're here, there. You've got this message at certain this time. You're talking about a child. See, that automatically gives them away. So what they do is they're on the phone call. They're on the phone, something like that, a burner phone, and they're setting these transactions up, of course, usually through Cashapp. And they'll pull a certain direction, maybe off the line a little bit, 2 foot off the line. So when you pull in, when this other car pulls in, if they're coming in the same direction, well, they'll look for the car that's off the line a little bit. Well, they know they'll watch that car. They'll watch these people get out. They'll go in and they transfer with kids or whatever money. That's how it works. Pretty good, ain't it?
Yeah, they're very calculated. What was that one? Who was it? The little boy. It's Adam Walsh. That's who disappeared in Florida. And then what happened with Adam Walsh?
Not familiar, but I've heard. There's so many kids that goes missing. When you hear about how they did this or how they did that, and how they actually come to their terms of status. But I've heard of Adam Walsh. Yes, I've heard of him.
Yeah, that was one of the cases. He got kidnapped from Walmart, and I believe he was sexually assaulted and murdered, and his body was found in a ditch drain somewhere in Central Florida.
Yeah.
And I think that happened back in the 90s or something, or maybe it was the 80s.
That's probably in. Hold on a second. No. Yeah. 82. No. Maybe 92. Maybe 92. Something. It might have been 92. I don't know, but it was before everything hit. Because like back in what was I saying, like 99, 93, 99, something like that. NAMBLA was only like 1,100 members strong. Now they don't even tell how many members they have. There's no way to find that members. But we do know there's big prominent people in these businesses and politicians that are members of NAMBLA.
Such as Zuckerberg.
Yes. It pretty much, if you want to go to Forbes.com, you'll see Mark Zuckerberg joined NAMBLA in 2010. You'll see that.
Let me see if I can pull this up. Give me 1 minute. You can go ahead and keep talking. I just want to pull this up so we can show them what we're talking about.
Michael Christensen, did you look at him in Indiana? I was going to, because I know you're back right there up above the law from where the state to state is there. But if you look at Michael Christensen Hammond, who it was, that was one of the cases that we was involved in. It was in 2020. It was the last one in 2020, I think. And I want to say it's in the mid part, maybe of 2020 or something like that. You look him up and look what he was doing. He was transport. Yeah, there you go. He was transporting child pedophilia, but he was also look him up. See if you've got time to look him up.
What's his name again?
It's Michael. It's Michael Christensen Hammonders.
Michael
Christensen or something. Let's see. Hammond. He was in Indiana. I know it was in Indiana because I was in Circle City at the time. I was actually in Morgantown. I was in Morgantown at the time. But if you look him up, let me look him up here real fast.
Michael Hammond.
Michael Christensen. Let's see, just say Christensen.
So, hello everybody that's tuned into the chat. Yeah, I guess a lot of you have made Rumble accounts. If you're coming over from YouTube, welcome.
Here it is. He's convicted of 15. He was sentenced to 15 years. You can see convicted child molester. See that? And it's in the DOJ. It's actually the United States Attorney's Office as a DOJ. It's the Northern Office is the one that convicted him. If you'll look at it,
How do you spell his name, Ernie?
it's Michael, and then it's Christensen, Christianson, Christensen. He's 52 of LaPorte, Indiana. I swear, I know he was in Indiana because we worked with crimes against children in Indiana when that was happening and during that time. And it was in, let me see, make sure. Yes, it was in 2020 when he was busted, but the crimes happened in June 22nd, 2019 to July the 2nd, 2019. It happened they updated it, but it was in 2020, 2021. It was around that area, that time period.
So it says that Christensen used a computer to submit 3 books that contained obscene content to a publisher in North Carolina. Specifically, the books he authorized contain photos of children's genitals. Yes, yeah. Now that I remember.
He did. Just keep reading it. This gets even further. Keep reading it.
So he publicized and authorized containing photos of children's, private parts and children engaging in sexual activity. He also authored the books while being a registered sex offender. He was previously convicted of child molestation in LaPorte County, Indiana, in 2003 for sexually abusing a 12-year-old boy. In his
12-year-old boy.
Yeah, he was set, and that was in 2003.
I know. He was already a sex offender. He was already registered. He was already on the list. And he did that right there. That just goes to show you there's no cure for these guys. There's no cure. There's no cure. You can rehabilitate a serial killer before you can a pedophile, and that's a fact. And it's sad. It's really, really sad that you can take someone out here who's took lives, multiple lives, and you can rehabilitate those people, but you cannot rehabilitate a pedophile. You can look it up. You can look it up in yourself in Google. You'll see that. It's hard because their mind is the way they're wired.
When people they say that, see, the thing about this, and this leads again into NAMBLA and Nugan and why they're trying to push this agenda. It is scientifically proven that people, they're born this way, but it's controversial and it's actually atrocious to see the statistics of this. And they cannot be rehabilitated. It's not like a serial killer or a murderer. I would even say a rapist, if you want to go into that. This is something that is biologically contained. So the question is, how do you prevent this from happening? How do you prevent them from reoffending? And my answer is there's no way to do it.
Well, California's got a study out right now that they've been trying to do. I don't know if you're familiar with this. And they're actually putting electrodes on the persons and asking them questions. And whenever they do the questions, it shocks. Did you see that? Have you seen that? You had to see that.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it?
Look up rehabilitation of pedophiles. Just look it up. You'll see all the treatments and everything they tried to use. They've come to a conclusion. It's harder to pretty much to rehabilitate a pedophile than it is a murderer. This is where you'll get this. This is where you'll get down into it. I know, like you like to dig deep into information, and I'm giving you the information so you can dig on it, you can study on it, you can have a show on it later on. But you're getting ready to get amazed when you see all the techniques they've actually used on pedophiles to try in scientific research to try to get them to quit thinking about loving kids. You're going to get amazed.
So I'll read this. I'm going to read this brief article that's coming from ABC4 Utah. Confessions of a child molester. Can offenders be rehabilitated? Child sex offenders, more than 2,000, are behind bars in the state of Utah. A majority of them will be released and returned to the community. Won't you get that? ABC4 asks the following questions. Can child molesters be rehabilitated back into society and non-offend? Now, Ernie, do you know about the trailer park that's in Tampa or St. Petersburg, Florida? The pedo park?
I do. You're talking about where they live at and everything, where every one of them live?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know where that's at.
See, I was looking into that, and I heard, a long time ago I heard about it, but I was listening to it before we got on live today, and they were going into the question of whether they can be rehabilitated or not. And they were saying that a lot of these people, now this is what they're saying. They say that they're completely aware of their urges, so they live a life of celibacy. Or not having sex, in other words.
But yeah, you can get on his apps like we was talking about. You'll see those same people on there, and
it's smoking guns. Your time bombs waiting to pop off.
Exactly, it's ready just to bam. And it's like I was telling you about these apps that we was on with these predators. And I got a lot of heat for this because a lot of people, I got heat because there's families involved, of course. When you catch these predators, of course, you out them, but it outs their family as well. Some people, like in the South, people hold their family name, value for what it is. So if you got a pedophile in your family and then you're outing it, on social media and there's millions of people seeing it, well, hell, I mean, you're going to catch slack somewhere. And we did. We caught a hell of a lot of slack, as a matter of fact. But the fact of the matter is, it's that person. It's not the family member that's doing it. But because of who it is in the South, it's what it is. So that's why we got all that slack. But again, TikTok, who they are at that time. Now, this is back in 21. They took our channel and we was only up there 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we had 22, 24 million views, and then 11 million views, 9 million. I mean, everything was in the millions. We had 968,000 followers. I'm going to send you those screenshots, as a matter of fact. So what happened is we got for categorizing predators because law enforcement was not on the scene at that time. That's not how we did it then. We would go ahead and submit everything to law enforcement. It was already a done deal. And then we would go and do the predator bust. They already knew ahead of time what everything was. But the thing about it is the damn DA would not prosecute these predators. And then we later found out that the DA was having little girls and little boys, 14-year-old, in his damn hot tub. So, I mean, it's a win-lose situation. It's a win-lose situation on that. But again, you get them out there, but you lose in the justice system. So get them prosecuted. Even what's his name? The Texas guy that was on the big guy, the big heavyset guy, the predator hunter that goes around and catches all these people. Even him, he even admitted Tennessee is one that has that TCA code that you can't do nothing with. It's on Jimbo's channel if you want to check it out sometime. But he admitted Tennessee is one of those states that you cannot do that with. They don't work in Tennessee. But again, in certain parts of Tennessee, I've worked and it's all went well. Pigeon Forge, Gallenberg, they were ready to work with us. But down Newport, you couldn't do nothing.
People saying that the audio is wonky. Audio wonky. You're okay, Ernie. You sound okay.
It's my internet.
We see. Let's see, Misty. Look at Ernie's pics back. It's for match. Yeah, I don't know what y'all are talking about in the chat. But yeah, this. I'm gonna go ahead and play this little video that's coming from ABC, and you tell me what you think about this. Let me unmute it here. Hold on for 1 second. This is coming from ABC 4 Salt Lake City, Utah. Hold on.
The top topic with a clinical director for answers. Tonight, confessions of a child molester.
90% of the time, a child will be abused by someone in their circle of trust, according to Prevent Child Abuse Utah.
Like what you were just
Tonight,
saying.
You'll hear from a Utah man who was sent to prison for sexually abusing close to 24 children in his neighborhood. He underwent therapy and now claims he's the safest man in his community. But can therapy rehabilitate a pedophile? He preyed upon and abused more than 20 neighborhood children. He agreed to talk to ABC4 News about his crimes.
I've had to confess to my crimes so many times, it makes me ill.
During his reign of terror, he victimized his own children. We have agreed to conceal his identity in an effort to protect his victims.
Okay, I blew it being a good father, but my intentions were always good.
Court documents reveal that over several years, he exposed himself and touched children inappropriately.
I wanted my kids to be educated, but it was hard to tell the difference between just keeping it on an education level and not get involved in the sex part of it, because like I said, it was enjoyable.
Records also state he had sexual intercourse and sodomized some of his young victims.
I was very working with my religious leader, because I realized that I'd gone too far and this was not right, and I wanted to stop it. So I was talking with him, and I was going to LDS Social Services. And but once you've committed the crime, there's no way out.
A court-ordered psychological evaluation found his, quote, ability to rationalize his sexual offenses ordered on delusional.
I find young children beautiful and sweet and innocent, and I can see how it's
power and control over that child is what they look for. The power.
Yep. That's what
they get off on that. They get off on their mind, their ability, what they can do to someone. They know they can't do that to an adult because they want to stand back up to them. A child has no choice. That's why they target children. They target children for these sexual purposes, and that's why. Because it's the power and control, and then comes, they can manipulate them, and then they see what they can do with it. It's just like what they did with the Curry, with the little Curry boy, Jeffrey Curry. They manipulated him with the bicycle. His mother told him to wait till Christmas. He couldn't wait till Christmas, and she wanted to teach him responsibility. Well, the NAMBLA group found out that the two or three members, whatever it was, found out that he needed a bicycle, and of course, he was going to satisfy their sexual desires. Then they bought him the bicycle. Once he seen what the bicycle was for and what he's being used for, the kid was old enough. He was 10 years old, but he was big enough to try to restrain himself from that. He tried to turn against them. When they turned against him, of course, they hit him with the gas. They gassed him up, probably sent, how they do it, and they sodomized him, and it killed him. So that's what happened. That's exactly what happened, and that's the story they don't tell you on the news or the media, because of what it is. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, of course, 100%. And if you go through the affidavit of Jeffrey Curley, you would know this. Not you, Ernie, but anybody that's listening to this. If you're not familiar with that case, and if you're curious about exposing NAMBLA and what they're all about, look into it. That's where the thing is, when this happened to Jeffrey, NAMBLA went underground after the lawsuit that was filed against them in a civil manner. They got implemented within this crime. Before that, before Jeffrey Curley, they were out pretty much in the open, per se. They were getting away with all of their stuff, but when that happened with Curley, it put the spotlight on them, so it forced them to go underground. And what Ernie was just talking about, when you go and look up the total members of NAMBLA, you can't find that information. It's not available publicly for a reason.
And the way I hear it, you have to be invited in by somebody in their club to even get it in it. So then you pay a membership anyways.
It's a cult. You
So
know,
it's hard to infiltrate unless you're just somebody wandering around being the victim, obviously, like you got to set yourself to be. What we used, I can't really go into this. I can't. What we can do to infiltrate groups like this is put people out there of age, but smart, trained people who actually fit their young boy thing. You're never going to get the young. You're never going to get the with the YBL. You're never going to get the young boy lovers. You're never going to get those because they want little kids. They want people like, when you do the 4, you want the 7 to the 11. They want the 7 to the 11. 12-year-olds, you're hitting 13. The teens come in. The puberty comes in. They kind of try to not hit the 12s, but they do hit the 12s if they're thirsty enough. They'll hit the 12s, but usually 13 up, you never see it. Now that's with pedophiles. That's with pedophiles with guys, and with that. So something else I was going to tell you that we talked about last night. The majority of pedophiles that you see out here are gay. You agree?
yeah, gay men and bisexual men. Not saying that there's women not involved, because there's been a weird trend also with more women abusing young teenage boys, sexually abusing teenage boys.
Well, that's a trend. That's a trend, just like what you just said. A trend. Now, with women, I'll be honest with you. We tried these other apps. When we was on. There was Omega. I think it's Omega. We tried that one. Messenger was really, really hot, but it was hard to get in these certain groups. Even on Facebook, they still have locked-in groups. People don't believe that, but they still have pedophile groups on Facebook. They're locked in to where they're secret club, and you can't get in. It's hard. It's hard to infiltrate those kind of clubs. And people think, why would you want to infiltrate those? Because if it's in your if it's your neighborhood or in your local area, you wouldn't believe it. I'll tell you right now, I'll amaze your mind. I'm gonna do what I did to you last night, Isaac. Take out your phones, go to the app, NSOPW. You'll be amazed. Once you download that app, NSOPW.
This is what it looks like.
Let's see every sexual. Exactly. Go ahead, show them.
NSPW.
You're going to be able to see every word. You're going to be able to see every pedophile, everybody registered in your area, and you can do it for free. Usually when you do these background checks and you try to look these people up, it comes with a fee. Am I correct? This is not. This is actually from the U.S. government. The FBI uses this. The U.S. Marshals uses this. This is their main headquarters for when it comes to looking for sexual predators and registries. Look at that on his. All those red dots are sexual predators. Every one of them. You may think 1 or 2 lives around here. You wouldn't think hundreds live around you. Right around you in the next street over. And it's actually people you're going to know. You might have been at a supermarket. They may be preachers. They may be teachers. You never know. Because it's hidden. And the thing with law enforcement is it's not never double checked. That's why you have these people who are registered, but you cannot find them. They've moved on somewhere else, and they're not being cooperative with law enforcement on registering a new address. That's why you have a lot of times you have that. And that's why issues once for them, because of course they left, and they're not registered their new home. They have 10 days. To register, like the new addresses and things, and they can't be within 500 or 1,500 foot from the school systems or any kind of parks or anything. They can't live there. But if you look at pedophiles, they live right by parks. That day we busted him 5.5 hours, 5.5, 6 hours. He sat in motion back and forth. That's why he had blisters on his feet, waiting for a 14 or 15-year-old child to show up at that park, go down by those tracks or by the river or whatever the hell is down there, and do his thing with him. Did you know that predator we busted was one of Matthew Kemper's good friends, one of his drug buddies, one of all that shit? And I don't even give a damn about the drugs. In that in that little apartment complex he lived at, everybody brought their kids over to that guy, and he babysitted them, just like this guy here that we just listened to on the news. He did the same damn thing. When we were sitting there talking to him, he's like, I can't do this. I got pictures of my 8-year-old. I was like, holy shit, what are you doing pictures of with an 8-year-old niece on your damn phone? I don't have pictures of nieces and shit. It was ridiculous. But go ahead, U.S. Department of Justice, NSOPW. That's the app. It's a free app, and it's free to use. And I guarantee you, it'll change your mind forever. It'll open your eyes to what's actually really around you, and it will secure yourself and your child. It will do that. That way, you know your child don't go down this area riding a bicycle because it's a pedophile. It's right down the damn street. And I'm telling you, you cannot rehabilitate a pedophile. So you can imagine every day your child rides his little bicycle down that street, pedophile peeking out the blinds, looking at your child. Think about that. You don't think about that because you're not trained to that. Our body and our minds were never ever meant to see this. But the people that are trained in it, think about it.
So I'm
gonna have to get some water, man. It bothers me when I talk about this stuff.
No, you're good. Plus, you've been doing a lot of talking, so it's it's getting dry mouth, cotton mouth. I'm gonna go grab myself a drink too, but in the meantime, y'all, I'm going to play this interview that is done by a pedophile, and I want you to listen at how these people talk, y'all. You need to listen with in between the lines of how they talk and what they're saying.
Paedophile Online Investigation Unit in St. Asaph. I'm meeting a man caught downloading the highest grade of child abuse material. We've agreed to hide his identity to protect his wife and children.
There was a loud knock at the door, but a big part of me instantly knew what it was. I should have been terrified. I should have been absolutely terrified, but I wasn't. I was just numb. You've been arrested for the most awful, morally repugnant crime there probably is. People would rather live, I think, next door to a murderer than a paedophile.
John was not jailed. Identity to protect his wife and children.
There was a loud knock at the door, but a big part of me instantly knew what it was. I should have been terrified. I should have been absolutely terrified, but I wasn't. I was just numb. You've been arrested for the most awful, morally repugnant crime there probably is. People would rather live, I think, next door to a murderer than a paedophile.
John was not jailed. He was given a suspended sentence and agreed to a therapy program with a charity called the Lucy Faithful Foundation, something he first heard about from the police.
There's 2.5 hour to 3 hour meetings once a week for about 10 or 12 weeks. One of the most difficult exercises was you had to put yourself in the position of an abused child and write about it. It's clearly designed to build empathy. The truth is, well, my first thought was this will be mitigation. This will be good mitigation when he goes to court. Compared to the person I was, I'm much better. No one who commits this crime is sound of mind. No one.
Therapy for certain online offenders is becoming more common, and it's little wonder police are open to different solutions. In a digital world, specialist units like this one face an almost insurmountable problem. Last year, 3,000 child sex offences were recorded in Wales. That's 36% up on the previous year.
Now, this is coming from the UK, across the pond. So these statistics are from the UK.
And a third of those contained an online element.
I think it's important at this particular time for North Wales Police to consider alternatives. And by alternatives, I want to make it clear that it's not a soft option. It's not that North Wales Police have gone soft on this type of crime. What we're saying is that.
So they're saying that North Wales, wherever this is, I think it's North Wales, they're saying that they don't know what to do or how to approach it. And that goes back to what we were previously talking about with common LE is not, most times they're not educated on Nugan and NAMBLA and maps and any of the stuff that we're talking about. They're not saying it's right. They just don't know. As long as the person is not committing the act, they can't arrest them or apprehend them. Go ahead, Ernie.
they're not gonna help you. The thing about it is they're gonna wait till the act's committed. Anybody can say they're going to go out here and do something unless it's a federal offense, unless it's like a federal act or something like that. They're not going to bother it unless there's credibility to it and this person is actually, registered or something like that. And then they say it. They'll do it beforehand. But if you got somebody fresh, most pedophiles never get caught. That's the thing. And you've got them, and they're out here, and they're saying they're going to commit this act. They're going to get up this kid. They're going to bring 2 kids over. They're going to have 6 men come over to this house. They're going to molest this child. They're going to do this. They're going to get this kid all messed up. That way they can't molest this child. They're going to bring in animals. I've seen them. There was a bust. If you look, there's a bust. If you look up North Carolina, Tennessee, it was North Carolina, Tennessee, and there was another state. I think it might be Kentucky. That was in on this big bust. There was preachers and everybody that got busted, and it was by bestiality. It was for bestiality. They had German shepherds. They had a German shepherd that had this 9 or 10-year-old kid, and they was using this child, and they would take it place to place, and they would bet on it. They would bet on. It was sick. It was sick. They would bet on who could do what with this child, and they would pay to see this. Other people, they would have these Zoom meetings, and they'd have these Zoom channels, and everything would open up, and they would pay these people. Now, to do certain things with these child while it was on Zoom and while it was in the public for people to see in a certain group. So you can imagine these people are making tons of money, and it's worse than the hotels because you've got an opening of like 1,500 people in these groups at the same time. They're all pedophiles, and they're watching this Zoom technique and this Zoom meeting going on, and they're showing this child. And this way, they're saying, they're typing in here, do this to the kid, do this to the kid, put this in. You have to understand what they're doing, and they're getting paid by Cashapp because they got the Cashapp right across the screen. It's kind of like what we do in YouTube, but of course we're not molesting children. But they do that, and they make a ton of money. That's why it's $1 billion industry. I mean, it's billions of dollars. And that's what they do. That's one of the things that people don't even put in their head that they do is on these Zoom channels. These Zoom channels, what is it, Ring or something like that. They do that with that. And they open these rooms up, these meeting rooms. You pay so much to get in. You may pay a flat $20 rate to get in, but you've got 1,500 people in this room times 20. Think about that, how much money that is. They got one child, 3 or 4 men, and maybe even an animal into a zoophilia bestiality. Think about that. That's when it gets really sick, guys. That's when it's really sick. And then you're sitting in here, you get these invitations. I already told you that. I already told you all that. I already told you that because I've infiltrated these groups. Now, have I seen it personally and watch it? No, I don't. Because it's groups that you can get into. I can show you the links to get in them. But I wouldn't dare sit and watch a kid be that happened. There's no way. I have contacted law enforcement. They will not do anything until something happens to that child and an official report is made on that, until a police report is made. That's sad. That's sick. And that's why some of the laws need to be changed. Some of these laws, and that's what I'm working for now. We did the SOCA Act. We got that passed. We need to hit these pedophiles. These pedophiles need to be hit, and they need to be hit hard. Now, that's true. Now, think about it. You guys can say whatever you want to about me. You can hate me. I don't care. But you're not going to beat me on this topic. You're not going to beat me on this subject. I've trained real men and women on this. Go ahead.
No, they're not saying anything. They're just asking questions.
I understand that. I see some of them that we don't agree on, and I understand that. They're going to have questions, but I want them to understand who I really am, what I used to do. This is what I used to do. Before all this YouTube shit, before all this anything, I was this person who done all this, who did this stuff. I've already been investigated by Department of Homeland Security and found truth. So there. But anyways, when you look at codes and symbols, go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to say, just piggybacking off of what you just said, guys, just because Ernie knows about this stuff, I know what I'm reading between the lines. He didn't participate in it. This is just the stuff that if you can go do your research your own self. You can look up these groups on Facebook. There's a lot. You can't actually go inside the group because it's so guarded. They make you ask a bunch of questions, and it's hard to get inside these groups on Facebook. But they're out there, and also this shit. Also, this is part of the reason why TikTok is being banned from the U.S.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Exactly. That you hit the nail on the head right there. The American version of TikTok, what we see now, is not what it used to be.
Yep.
It's nothing like what it used to be.
It's also it goes by ByteDance. That's the parent company, but the Chinese version of TikTok is not the same version as what you see over here in the US. The US,
No.
see, the problem with TikTok is people, this has always went on. It doesn't even have to be anything sexual in nature. And I don't think that, I don't necessarily blame TikTok for this. It's people that use TikTok as predatory tools. It doesn't have to be anything sexual in nature. People, they post videos as innocent of their kids eating dinner or their kids running around at the park or something like that. And they post it to TikTok. They think it's all cute and everything. But if you go under the comments and see what people are saying, then you'll know what we're talking about. That's all you have to do. And a lot of these pedophiles, they run under these anonymous ghost accounts. They don't have a profile picture. They go under screen names. And TikTok has cracked down on this. They've attempted to clean it up. But the only reason why they did that was because of the U.S. government. There, I'm done talking. The problem I have is his statements like SOCA Act, which was not passed in the U.S., that was passed in the U.K., and it's impressive and needed, but not a law here. What do you think about that, Ernie?
It was not passed in the UK. They don't have it in the UK. Is that what they're saying?
They said the act was not. Let's see. The problem I have is the statements
Which was not passed. It was not passed in the US. That was passed in the UK.
Yeah.
I don't understand exactly what they're saying with that, because I can show you where it was passed in the US in some states. Here's your thing.
It was passed in the UK.
What countries allow pedophilia? That's a good one. Did you know there's countries actually that pedophilia is legal?
No, I didn't. No. Which countries are?
Australia, it's legal. Sweden, it's legal. Amsterdam, it's legal. Pedophilia is legal. Is that wild?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I know that weed and drugs and LSD and everything else was legal in Amsterdam, but I didn't know about pedophilia. But then again, wasn't prostitution? That's legal.
Amsterdam is famous for the sniffing stuff. Amsterdam, ammonium nitrate. Amsterdam. Think about that.
They say that you're crackling.
I probably am. I got low service.
Yeah, he's coming. He doesn't have good service, y'all. Just be patient. See, everyone's turned in. Hello, Viper. Regardless of what, let me just go ahead and say this, guys. I know that this is different. A lot of people's coming over from YouTube, but we're talking about the subject tonight. Regardless of how you feel about Ernie, this stuff needs to be known more among people. And that's why I'm having him up on panel to talk about it. And we've talked behind the scenes privately about all of this.
I was not kicked out of Special Forces Liberty. As a matter of fact, they still want me to come back and do the next for the next rounds. But anyways, can you hear me good now? Is everything good? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Look at that. Even Viper. Look, Viper, I'll give you credit on that. I am correct on Amsterdam. I know I am. Australia was one of the biggest human trafficking hubs ever. It was taken out what year? I'll ask you that because I know. I know what year it was taken out. I know who took it out. I know why it was taken out. I know everything about the beds, all the beds, what they was doing, the gurneys that they had over there, everything for draining the kids. I know all that. That was, but what year was it? Thank you. I appreciate that, Viper. So we can get along maybe a little bit. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I think that a lot of people can get along with you if they put their differences aside and their own personal feelings.
Well, the thing about it is when I started getting into this is the introductory. We're going to do a whole thing of this, and it's going to happen, no matter what people want to see or not. It's going to happen. Thank you, I appreciate it. So, Amsterdam, Sweden, and Australia is one of the three major hubs. Australia was the biggest. Australia, Africa was huge. Australia was big. But Amsterdam, there's a reason Amsterdam with ammonium nitrate come out with their own version of the name Amsterdam. That shows you a lot right there. But pedophilia is legal in Amsterdam, Sweden, Australia. Now, it's on the books for make it legal in other countries, but we'll see what happens. As time goes and they try to sensitize this MAPS, which is minor attracted persons, and they get into the NAMBLA effect, which we all know that is, and the Nugent, you're going to see people change everything because they're putting certain laws in play right now that they can grasp a hold of and say, hey, well, this is legal. Why can't this be legal? Changing the age of sexual consent from 16 down to 12. That's what they're trying to do right now.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to
do.
Yeah, that's what Nugan does, Gil, and they're trying to justify it. You know, they're basically trying to dumb it down. They're trying to follow in the same step as, you know, the whole legalization of gay marriage. We want equal rights. That's not the case with this. That's not an equal right. There's people that are in the gay community that don't want anything to do with NAMBLA or these pedophiles that want to associate and leech themselves into this community. Ernie, let me ask you about this. What do you think about society now with these members of Nugan, which is another organization that is trying to desensitize people to pedophilia by using the acronym MAPS?
Right. Well, I actually had experience of, and actually was when I was working, I was in Tennessee, I was working in North Carolina. I was working as a school person, a school security person. And of course, we had, we would report to the school officer. Go ahead.
No, I was just playing something. Sparkle Pussy is streaming us on Rumble. Just to let you know, go ahead.
That's fine, Al. I mean, you're gonna get out there. It's gonna be it. If you change, you know, if you get something, somebody grabs a hold of it. Don't matter whether Republican, Democrat, you know, indifferential, what it is. We all come together when it comes to children and what's happening to kids because we see it more and more, and it's going to happen more and more. The closer it gets to the end of 24, you're going to see a big, huge rise in pedophilia. Watch and see. Now, when you get to the point where I was talking about the school I worked at, I was working security at a school. They had brought a person to work security in there that was a MAP. He identified as a MAP. He had it on the back. He had the little stickers. You know, you remember the little stickers, the little decals they had for MAPs? Minor attracted people, the little logo stuff they had, they would put it on. Look this up. This is funny as hell. Look this up. Minor attracted person logo decal. Look that up. You get ready to get kicked. Now, this is in North Carolina where I was driving from Tennessee back to North Carolina to work at in the school system. This guy was a security guy who was hired in and worked, and he was a MAP. He identified, I mean, everything about him, all over his vehicle. He had the stickers, he had everything, he had them on his damn laptop. It's crazy. And that stands for minor attracted person. What are you doing in a school system working? Notice the colors. They're different from, you know, other colors, other flags. You see the difference in it. You know, the rainbow colors is different, of course. Now,
That was me. I'm sorry.
the blue. Now each one of those colors stand for something. I want you guys to do homework. I want you to see what those colors, each one of those colors stand for something. I know what it is. I want you guys to find out. That's your homework. That's your homework. That's your good one too, Isaac. Ask what each one of those colors stand for in the logo for MAP. That's all you got to do. You're going to get kicked out of it.
This is not to be confused with other flags. I know that when you're talking about the rainbow, you know, the rainbow sparkle community.
It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. Simple.
It's see, this is an example of LGBTQ. You of course you have the rainbows, you have, if you're wondering what the brown and the black, that's
Sorry about that. I got a file coming in. Hold on a second. I got to check this out. Let me mute out.
no, you're good. So the black and brown, in case you're curious, the black and brown, it stands for bears. older gay men. And then, of course, you have the trans that is implemented within that too. But this is completely different from what I'm showing you, which is the map that serves as minor attracted person. Let me see if I can pull up the colors and the symbolism. So this is known as the no map flag. So it was adopted by people that were on Tumblr. Some of you may be familiar with Tumblr. I used to have Tumblr.
Tumblr was one of the secret. They took it out of Tumblr. It was also took out Tumblr too, but it used to be something more. Tumblr used to be Tumblr. Omega was huge. Omega was really, really big. 52% of Messenger was the end of the things, and of course we adapted to the laws, and then they had to change everything over. But keep going what you're doing, because you're getting ready to get into some good shit.
So it says that the no map flag was made originally likely as a prank. So it started out as a prank by Tumblr users. It is now adopted by some pedophiles and a bunch of other files that I can't say of. The term map, which stands for minor attracted person, refers to any adult with an attraction to minors. And while no map stands for non-offending map, which is, they're still pedophiles that just haven't offended yet. They're ticking time bombs. But yeah, that's what it started out as a joke. But see, this is what these people do. They try to gaslight. They take the ammo that you throw at them and use it to their own advantage.
Well, they take something innocent. And they turn it into something that's not innocent. That's what they do. It's like with the panda. The panda's a cute bear, okay? But people take that panda and they take it and they use it as a symbol for what it's used for. We all know that, correct?
I'm pulling it up right now.
You'll see what I'm saying. They take an innocent object, an innocent animal, and they use it for something else. They turn it completely against what it's made for and use it for their version of panda eyes.
So this is coming from the official FBI.gov website. Innocent images, just like what Ernie was saying. In 1993, agents working a missing child case discovered something startling. Pedophiles were transmitting sexually explicit images of minors via the internet. In May of 1993, a 10-year-old boy suddenly went missing from his neighborhood in Brentwood, Maryland. Within weeks, the investigation uncovered 2 pedophiles with a larger ring of online child pornographers. Within 2 years, it spawned into a major national investigation that became the centerpiece of the FBI's efforts to protect the children from cyberspace predators. Yeah, investigators soon discovered that the men had been sexually abusing children for a quarter century. So this was happening for over a quarter century.
Right. Thank you. You're killing me with all this food. But yeah, you're exactly right. But look, check this out. The acronym, the abbreviation IYPH is real big with pedophiles. Now, if you was typing on a computer and you use what was called IYPH, IYPH stands for Is Your Parents Home? IYPH. Of course, the kids, but see what they're doing is they're grooming these children. And they're teaching them the lingo. They're teaching them these signs and symbols and codes. That way they can converse back with each other. They can communicate, and nobody ever think nothing about it. If a parent was to get on a computer and they say IYPH, Well, they may think it's some kind of code or something to a video game, and that's what they use. And one of the biggest games that's infiltrated is Minecraft. Minecraft is one of the biggest games that's infiltrated by pedophiles. And they'll put in these little houses they can build. You can go into these houses and they'll leave these coordinations or whatever it is in it. And these kids go and they'll have things build up, certain images, and you can see porn, whatever it is. It's true. Minecraft was infiltrated. If you want to look at it, if you don't believe me, you can look up in Google. You can look at Minecraft. Minecraft was one of the biggest things, pedophilia and pedophiles, they targeted for children.
Yeah, that's how you get close to them. And I'm going to get off topic here and just kind of sideway, but if you're familiar with the Dylan Rounds case, which by the way, I invited JT up here, but you know, he may be busy, so he couldn't stop by, or just he didn't want to stop by. It is what it is. But it made me think of that's why I wanted Jim Terry up here, because he could talk more about the farm stimulation game in the case of Dylan Rounds. Because according to Salty Pancakes and Jim Terry, there was another YouTuber, and they were talking to Dylan Rounds on this farm simulator game before he went missing. That's one of Salty's conspiracy theories, which I thought was a conspiracy theory, but according to some people, that actually happened. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but...
Well, the thing with video games, you can trade skins out. That was one of the biggest things. People would trade skins in video games. Kids, you know, they was always trying to get this certain skin or something, make this certain skin or a certain code or anything. Well, what happens is these pedophiles, I don't know how you believe. See, this is something new that's come in. Now that they're having all these conventions and stuff, I can't just say that these people that's called furries are pedophiles. I can't say that because they're into a league that I don't know. I've not studied this. You know, that's kind of a new kind of thing. Would you agree? But they're gamers. Most of them are gamers. Would you agree on that, Isaac?
Yeah. That's my mic was muted. I was about to say I'm familiar with furries because furries and pups. You know, the pup. You know, my little logo that I have. It's
right.
Anime. They're anime. That's what it is. But there's pedophiles that use those communities and those little subcultures to push their tools and their agenda.
Correct. So you have these people that's pushing something. They're taking something that's kind of innocent, but they're taking it and using it for their purposes, and then it makes it gives it a black eye on the whole thing. Anyways, it makes everything the black eye because they're using it for their purpose. Now, right. I was in Washington when I was in Washington D.C. I was over in New York and different areas. We actually came into these furries. There was thousands of furries. Well, I'm scared of deaf furries. I didn't even know why. Every which way I turned, I mean, it was just furries here and furries there. There was this. I mean, this dude had to weigh 345, 350 pounds, and he had this little furry suit on. It didn't even cover his body. I mean, it was just like so tight up on him and everything. And he looks at me and he's licking his tongue around and around at me. I'm like, I don't even have no clue because I'm not familiar with it.
Well, it's honestly, Ernie, if you want to know the truth to those furries, it's kind of like the pup thing. And again, it doesn't necessarily, I'm not trying to correlate. Let me be very specific whenever I say this. If you're into furries alone is innocent. It's like anime, but it's also, you have some people that take it a step further and, you know, go down the rabbit hole. It's a fetish. There's sexual aspects to furries, yes. And furries is a perfect opportunity for pedophiles to lurk because it's appealing to the younger crowd. It's appealing to children. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. You know, all of that stuff that is anime.
Well, here's the thing, too. I want to get out. There's a YouTuber. There's a particular YouTuber right now. And I wish Viper would actually get a hold of this. Listen, trust me. I wish Viper would get a hold of this, but he won't. And this is what makes me mad. There's a certain YouTuber on there who uses an innocent children's image that comes off Mario, but puts a diaper on it and goes by Pink Bo Birdo. If you look into who that person is, you're so good about all this tracing and stuff. Why don't you look into that person? You're going to see that person's same house was on a bond, that person gave an 8-month-old fentanyl and living in that same house. Same woman, he calls his mom or whatever, granny, whatever the hell it is. And you're going to find out more. And you can actually do something then, because they're actually proof on that. There's documentation on that, and there's police reports on that right there. Now that right there makes me sick, because they're using the child's image and they're putting a little diaper on it. Anyways, that's what pisses me off. That shit like that right there is what makes me mad, because I know they're drawing in children with that, and they're a gamer and they're around kids all the time. So think about it.
Yeah, you're not telling me anything new, Ernie, because I'll take it a step further and say this. There's also a thing that there's also a subculture out there that it's a fetish, a sexual fetish among people for wearing diapers. Yes, grown men wearing diapers, wearing, like baby clothing, dressing like babies, wearing diapers and shit. People, they get off on that. And that's what I didn't say it at the time whenever I was giving my commentary on that pink flamingo or whatever he is, she is, whoever they identify as. But my mind went to that, and then I saw the anime. I couldn't point my finger exactly what was on it, but I knew it was symbolism. There's people that get off on that shit. I don't know Flamingo. I just know that he comes up. He was real triggered last night. Early.
Oh my God. But I see something, and I'm not going to mention your name no more, but I see something we do agree on. Okay. You know who I'm talking to. I didn't know that you actually was on the ass. I didn't know that. I do appreciate you for that, because there is something really big with that. If you look into it in Indiana, you'll see what I'm talking about. Look at the area that's happening in. Go back to the past reports and the police reports, and you're going to find out something. I don't give a damn what Sarah Smiles says and what Sarah's saying. She don't know the facts because her eyes are closed when it comes to this. Everything happens in front of her eyes. You're smart with that, Viper. I'm going to give you that. I gave you that. Because if you are on that, that's where you need to be at. Because I'm telling you right now, if you look up the phone numbers, you reverse the phone numbers, look at it, it comes out to a person who's already wanted for sexualizing women, stalking women, and that's exactly what they done. Now, that's all I'm going to say about you. Now, let's get back to the point ahead. Now, I did give you credit. I hope you understand that. There you go. Because it needed to be done. Go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't know who you were addressing, but yeah, that stuff has symbolism, guys. All the diaper things, especially on anime characters. Yeah, this stuff is sick. And I can't wrap my mind around it. I don't like to fetish shame, because a fetish does not necessarily mean child predator or someone being a child molester or child predator. But the problem is, and I keep on sounding like a broken record, the problem is you have these pedophiles that use these little subcultures such as furries, fucking LGBT, any of these other cultures, the leather kink community, they use these as tools. They're leeches. These organizations are leeches. They will find anything they possibly can to push their agenda to make this socially acceptable. And it will be pushed by the left. Not getting too much into politics, but that's correct. It will be pushed by the left. You already see it. There's so many politicians that are in groups such as NAMBLA. They're not going to tell you this, but if you do research, it's out there. Mark Zuckerberg, for one, I didn't even know about that until last night. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and speak, Ernie, that's fine. I just get off on my rambles, and let's see what people's been saying. Ernie,
hold on one second. I got a file coming in. Just hold on one second. I want to show you something.
No,
I've got one of my old team members is sending me something right now, and I want you look at this. Actually, you got to talk to one of the team members that's in infiltrated groups last night, correct?
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
brought. I'm kind of because I need people like you. I'm not gonna lie. I need people like you, people who understand it enough to where they can document it. I need documentation in order to see, in order to bring it in front of anything. Well, guess what? You got to have documentation that exists, correct?
correct. And let me just say this for the people that want to think that, you know, my channel is turning into a joke. That's why this is on Rumble. And Ernie didn't make me do this live stream, converse me into doing this live stream. It was Ernie's idea, yes. But keep in mind, I'm the one that initially made contact, informing him about Nugan and Nambla and maps. Because immediately after coming across all the information that I did on them a year ago in that podcast, it had nothing to do with Ernie Shell. I tagged his name a few months back because I'm like, holy shit, I don't know why I didn't do this, but he needs to know about this. This stuff exists. I know that me and him don't see eye to eye on certain things, but this is one thing, and I'm saying this to everybody in the chat tonight. Anybody that's watching on the replay tonight, if you can put all of that drama shit aside and listen to what has been said with these pedophile organizations, if you do your research, it's out there, y'all. It's out there. And if you're a parent and if you have children, you really need to know about this, because what they're doing, they can't go mainstream with it anymore. They harbor online and they operate through apps and online forums and video games to target the youth. Grindr, Craigslist, which, by the way, there's still people that get on Craigslist to post to solicit sex. There's ways around it, but they did get rid of the personals. Hornet, Growler, Tinder, TikTok, Facebook, it's everywhere. They operate online. Let me try this way, Isaac. I appreciate what you do. I also appreciate the cops. Does not mean I want a felon or abuser as a cop. It dilutes the respect. Yeah, and I get that, Viper. Yeah. You know, and I don't want to sit up here and down the police. I've never been that type of person, because let's just be honest. We're all going to need the police at least once in our life. There's going to come a point where you need the police. But common law enforcement, there's a lot of law enforcement that's not educated on this stuff, and they don't know what to do about it. It comes down to ignorance. I would say the solution would be for more LE to receive the proper education on what we're talking about tonight. That's what makes these organizations so dangerous. I just found out this information a year ago. Yeah. And it's disgusting. It's atrocious. Yeah, we know predator approaches, 5 catch a day, 3 educated people. No, my guy. Yeah. You said Weather Channel or Weather Chaser 77. He knows everything and calls it out.
I'll be right with you in a second. I've got some files coming in. I'm going to look at this.
No, you're good. I'm just going to play this audio. So this is talking about the case with Jeffrey Curley. I've talked about this before, and a lot of you know this YouTube channel. It's the Misery Machine. I'm actually subscribed to their channel. I like their content. Listen to what they have to say about Nambla, y'all.
Arrangement. Charles was harboring a more sinister secret. He was a child predator. The duo had been seen in the months leading up to Jeffrey's disappearance, frequenting the neighborhood in Charles' 1983 Cadillac Fleetwood. Some sources indicate it was a Seville. It was through Salvatore that Charles was introduced to Jeffrey. Together, they planned to lure Jeffrey into their sinister plot. Now, Charles was known to be a member of the North American Man-Boy Love Association, or what it's more commonly known by, NAMBLA. For those unfamiliar, this is a child predator organization which advocates for the abolition of age of consent laws. You might remember this organization from the South Park episode Cartman Joins NAMBLA. It's a very common misconception that South Park made up this organization.
Yes, that is true. So when you hear NAMBLA, I've been receiving some comments. They say, "Oh, I heard about NAMBLA when I watched South Park. I thought it was all made up." This is not made up. Yeah, I know South Park, they kind of trolled NAMBLA. They made, South Park, they troll everybody, but NAMBLA, it's not to be confused that this is real.
Unfortunately, it is very real.
Despite the disturbing circumstances that surrounded him, Jeffrey continued his daily routines, his innocence untouched by the evils that lurked nearby. However, the canvas of this ideal childhood was marred by an incident on October 1st, 1997. On this seemingly ordinary day, Jeffrey made a routine visit to his grandmother. As he stepped out, he cheerfully promised her that he would be back in about 10 minutes. Unbeknownst to everyone, this promise marked the end of normalcy for the Curley family, and for his poor Nana, who was the last person to see him alive. The lively 10-year-old freckle-faced boy who held dreams of dousing fires and saving lives never returned. Jeffrey John Curley, a beacon of life and unbridled potential, vanished that day, leaving behind a wake of questions and despair. Soon, the Cambridge police began their frantic search for the missing boy. But as hours turned into days, hope began to dwindle. With the arrival of news crews, the Curley family's worst fears were broadcast to the world. Their pleas for Jeffrey's safe return echoed throughout the city, a tragic reminder of the boy who was now missing.
As the investigation progressed, Salvatore, being the last known person to have seen Jeffrey, became a focus of attention. Like many criminals, Salvatore attempted to insert himself into the investigation by making voluntary statements to police, as well as assisting with search efforts for the missing boy. On October 3rd, 1997, Sergeant Patrick Nagel of the Cambridge Police Department contacted Salvatore and asked him to come to the police station for further discussion, one of many over the past few days. Once at the station, Salvatore reiterated his previous conversations with Sergeant Nagel. He spoke about his relationship with Charles, whom he'd met 2 years earlier in Brockton. He claimed to have warned both Charles and Jeffrey about their inappropriate friendship given their significant age difference. After investigators found physical evidence that linked them to Jeffrey, including a bag of quicklime and NAMBLA literature, Salvatore confessed. He was arrested, after which he stated, "Lock me up, I'm guilty." Charles Janes later was apprehended at his workplace, a Honda dealership in Newton, Massachusetts.
The Curley family's nightmare escalated when, 3 days after Jeffrey's disappearance, the police arrived with a priest. They had obtained a confession. Jeffrey had been killed, and the suspects were none other than Salvatore Sicari and Charles Janes. The knowledge of their son's fate and the horrifying details of his death sent the Curley family into a whirlwind of grief and disbelief. An impromptu shrine in memory of Jeffrey appeared outside their home, where community members left flowers, baseballs, and stuffed toys. Amid this heartbreaking spectacle, a local woman started a petition to reinstate the death penalty. As the Curley family grappled with their grief, they were forced to watch their nightmare play out on television, a chilling testament to the evil that lurked in their own neighborhood.
Salvatore's confession detailed a horrific series of events. He and Charles lured Jeffrey under the guise of purchasing a bicycle for him, as his had previously been stolen. They also planned to give him $50. Between 3 and 3:30 p.m. on October 1st, they convinced Jeffrey to accompany them, stopping at a gas station where Charles dampened a rag with gasoline.
Save money and make money on Depop. Buy your favorite brand secondhand for cheaper than retail.
Sorry, advertisement.
He then attempted to essay Jeffrey in the vehicle. When Jeffrey resisted, Charles suffocated him with the gasoline-soaked rag. It was a brutal struggle, with 85-pound Jeffrey resisting the 250-pound Charles for over 20 minutes until he sadly succumbed to suffocation from the gasoline-soaked rag jammed into his mouth. According to Salvatore, Charles killed Jeffrey because, in his words, he thought he was going to get a bike and $50 for nothing. During this entire struggle, Salvatore managed to evade a police cruiser that was in the vicinity during the attack.
During his ordeal, Jeffrey suffered burn marks on his forehead, eye, cheek, chin, and neck as a result of the gasoline. According to the medical examiner that later completed Jeffrey's autopsy, the toxic fumes induced a cardiac arrhythmia, worsening fluid buildup in the lungs and instilling a sensation of drowning. Afterward, Jeffrey's lifeless body was placed in the trunk, and the pair drove to the Honda Village, a dealership in Newton, Massachusetts. There, they worked on a car for a few hours while Jeffrey lay dead in the Cadillac. Later that afternoon, around 4:45 p.m., their car was spotted at an NHD hardware store parking lot in Newton. Only Salvatore and Charles were visible within the vehicle. There was no sign of Jeffrey.
The pair then purchased quicklime and concrete from a Home Depot in Somerville, Massachusetts, a large plastic storage tub from a Bradley's department store in Watertown, Massachusetts, as well as alcohol before headed to Charles' apartment in Manchester, New Hampshire. This whole trip from East Cambridge to Manchester is over 2 hours of driving alone, according to Google Maps, not taking into account the traffic that is pretty bad in Eastern Mass. At the apartment, the pair wrapped Jeffrey's body in a blue plastic tarp and brought him inside.
What came next was absolutely horrific. Charles disrobed the young boy, taking a button and a label from his trousers as keepsakes. The 22-year-old laid the boy's body on top of a plastic bag on the kitchen floor and proceeded to violate him with a Coors Light bottle, before flipping him over and continuing to perform lewd acts that involved his hands, mouth, and feet. Despite Charles's insistence, Salvatore refused to engage in the post-mortem essay of Jeffrey.
At around 2:30 a.m., the pair mixed the cement in the plastic tub, essentially entombed Jeffrey's body inside it. They applied quicklime to Jeffrey's eyes, mouth, and cheeks. Now, some viewers might think we are confusing quicklime for lye, but according to all official documents, it was confirmed that this was indeed quicklime.
Go ahead, Ernie. What do you think about what I just played?
Well, I mean, it's a case. It's that case. It's actual, pretty much what they did. I mean, it's actually graphic detail. I mean, it's kind of like a graphic detail of what they actually did to this kid, Jeffrey. It was awful. It was sick. It was very sick.
Yeah, and I was I was playing that to give context to what you were talking about with the Jeffrey Curley case. That way, people don't know you're just not knowing what you're talking about.
Right. A quick thing, and you're right. You're exactly right. How many people do we have in the UK right now watching this?
I'm not.
Do we have any in the UK? Do we have any in the UK right now?
Y'all, can you put a 1 in the chat? Put a 1 in the chat if you're watching outside of the US or from the UK. Over the pond. Because I know that on YouTube, a lot of my audience on YouTube comes from the UK and Australia.
Well, what I want to say is there's a thing called over in the UK. It's called a PAFL. It's a pedophile association. It's over in the UK. It's literally a pedophile location. It's a pedophile organization, not location, organization that proudly presents itself over in the UK. Now in the United States, this is crazy. You're gonna get crazy. It's called CSC. You ever heard of the CSC?
CSC. What does that stand for?
Childhood Sexuality Circle.
CSC pedophile. I'm Googling it.
Look it up. Just look it up. It's in the United States. It was back in the 70s, back in the rave day, the hippie days and stuff like that. But look it up. Look at CSC. They endorse NAMBLA. They endorse pedophilia. They endorse all that. There's a few. There's only like 4 or 5 in America that's actually out there publicly. Being NAMBLA being one, the MAPS being one, and of course Project Truth. Project Truth is one. They endorse pedophilia. I want everybody to understand that. You know what Project Truth is, right?
What is Project Truth? Just so the audience knows.
Okay, so
See,
have you ever heard of the? Have you ever heard of the? Have you ever heard of the ILGA? Look at it. Look at it real quick. Google ILGA.
Let's
Now, I haven't
see.
done this stuff since like 2020 is the last time I fooled with this stuff. Literally,
You said organization, or is it an acronym?
Look at ILGA. Just ILGA, and maybe put pedophilia out there beside of it. Just that way it hits up in the Google search and it gets into keywords. But ILGA.
It said that ILGA's NGO status was suppressed in September of 1994 due to the group's perceived ties with pro-pedophilia organizations such as...
Right, okay. Now look up Project Truth with that. You'll see what I'm talking about. They endorse Project Truth is actually in with that. They was in with that. Look up Project Truth. Just look up Project Truth.
Project Truth. Okay.
And read what that actually is. Read what Project Truth is.
Project Truth. So Project Truth is, it looks like a human rights organization. And
bingo.
Go ahead.
So you would think a human rights organization of any kind anyways would be for human rights. But when it comes to children, well, they go the opposite way. I mean, the rights of a child is like pedophilia. Well, that just takes them away pretty much, correct?
Well, yeah, of course it's contradicting. But see, that's exactly what and all these organizations, they hide under the human rights. They want to masquerade under, oh, we're a protected group of people, you know? We're just like the LGBTQ people, which are not.
And if you look up, there's another one in the United States. It's real big. You're going to get kicked out of this one. Acronym RGS. Renee. Oh dang it, Renee Guyon Society. Renee Guyon Society. I know it's RGS. I remember the abbreviations. RGS. Been a while.
Renee. Let's see. RGS.
That's
Renee.
It's like RE. It's like RENE. It's not Renee spelled out like RENE. It's just like REN. It's RENE Guyon Society. It's RGS is what I remember that. So when we did code, we do abbreviations.
It's not bringing up anything on my search, but
let me look it up on mine. Hold on a second.
So
it's RGS.
They're
okay.
This. Go ahead.
Go, sir. It's. I got it. Hold a second.
Project Truth. TRUTH.
Okay, so it's RE. Okay, it's RENE GUY. Remember the guy. GUYON. GUYON. All one word. Society. SOCIETY.
Okay. You said Guy and
Guyon. 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 Guyon Society.
Okay, so yeah, here it is. The Renee got how do you pronounce it? Guyon Society?
Guyon Society, yeah.
It was an American. It was an American organization that advocated for sexual relations with children. Most investigators consider it to be one-man propaganda operation. It was named after Renee Guyon, a former judge who served the Supreme Court of Thailand for 30 years and who, apart from traditional judicial work, wrote on the sexual ethics of work and the ethics of sexual acts.
It was in the United States, though.
The entity's motto was said to have been sex before 8.
Exactly. 8 years old. Yep. They actually, their members had to, now when you look into this and you get down into this, because this group was broken up, of course, but the members, of course, spread out throughout. Some went to NAMBLA, some went to MAPS, all that. Now, these are the YBL that I was telling you about, the young boy lovers with the sign with the spring, with the light blue and the black. You remember telling you about the neon color, the blue and green? Boy colors, pink girls, GYBL, young girl lovers, stuff like that. But the boy lovers, young boy lovers, this was the sickest one. This ones I was telling you about the age limits and what they would date. It was 8, before 8 years old. Can you imagine that? Now, these members had to have sex and had to have proof of them having sex with a child before the age of 8 years old to become a member. That is one of the things they used to do. Now, that was like their, when you get in these college hazes and stuff like that, or you get in these college things about that. It was a friend. Go back to that one. I like to read. He's pretty knowledgeable.
It was a French person in America.
In America. You're right. You're correct. But he did serve on Tyler. He was on Tyler's board. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, we're talking about the triangle symbolism, yeah.
We're talking about the spring on this one. This is the spring. This is the one I said. This is the rarest one of them all. The spring. This is the one where you find the little kids, the little 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and that one. That's the little spring with the green and the blue, and they've got the shadow. I always remember the shadow is the shadow of the follow up. That shows the age limit. The age limit is young. But look, we're going to have to conclude this because at midnight tonight, I've got a hunt I got to do. And we can do this again. We can work on this. I've got a couple of team members coming over. We got some cases we want to work on. And of course, we got some apprehensions we want to do. But I do appreciate you. Thank you for helping me. And thank you for, continuing. And thank you for believing in me most of all. Everybody, I appreciate you guys. Much respect. You can continue on your live stream. Hey, I love this. I've got a lot of feedback from a lot of people, even former team members. They're loving this stuff. They're watching it right now. People coming from YouTube. You're doing what you need to do, and I appreciate you for doing the Lord's work. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Anytime, Ernie. I just thought that we would bring awareness of these child organizations, which do exist. And this live stream is not necessarily, it's not anything to do with Ernie's show, but he knows about this stuff, so that's why we're talking about it. So I just hope that if you got anything out of this live stream, you can know what NAMBLA is and other child predator organizations. Now, this is going to be uploaded to YouTube. It's going to be uploaded to YouTube sometime in the near future. I'm not going to tell exactly when it is, because I don't know. I haven't came up with the date yet, but you guys know. You guys will know. Did you use Predator Hunt for children? No, I haven't. I don't understand that question. Did you use Predator Hunt? Oh, good. He gave Isaac permission. Yes. Yeah, Ernie, he can use my live stream. I don't care. This is coming from Rumble, but it's going to be re-uploaded to YouTube sometime in the later future. And there's going to be future segments on this here on Bandit Network TV 2 on Rumble. So if you guys have enjoyed this live stream, be sure to follow my Rumble page. It's somewhere that I place my other content and other videos. We don't only talk about this stuff. We talk about my tarot card readings. More of my tarot card readings that I'm doing will be posted over here. Green Misty, he knows he can read on Google. Anybody can do that. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's available for anybody that's on Google. All of this is general knowledge. We're just putting it out there. You guys are free to do whatever you want to with it. But yeah, like I said, thank you for coming over and just chilling out tonight. Be sure to follow this Rumble page, and also if you're watching from Rumble, and if you want to go subscribe to Bandit Network TV on YouTube, feel free to do that as well. Have a good rest of your week, and I will talk to you sooner than later. We're going to be closing out the live stream. And if you want to donate, you can donate. And if you don't or can't, then just don't. Thanks for watching.